Hi, my name's Chaz and you're watching Chaz's Languages. In this video, you'll learn useful greetings and phrases, personal pronouns, conjugating verbs in the present tense, and modal verbs in Norwegian. Hi you guys, thank you for watching and welcome to the first Norwegian lesson here on Chaz's Languages. In today's video, you'll learn useful greetings and phrases, the personal pronouns, conjugating verbs in the present tense, and modal verbs. So first, let's start off with some useful greetings and phrases to get you started speaking some basic Norwegian. The first one is hi, which is hi. And then the next one is ha det or ha det bra, and that means goodbye or bye. For see you later, you can say vi ses, and that literally means we will see each other. And then the next one is hyggelig or møte deg, and that means nice to meet you. Or how are you? You would say hvordan går det? Hvordan går det? To answer that, to say well, thanks, you would say bra takk. Or yes, you say ja. And no is nei. Please is vær så snill. Thank you is takk. You're welcome is either bare hyggelig or vær så god. To ask what is your name, you would say hva heter du? Hva heter du? And then for the last phrase, excuse me, for that you would say unnskyld. Unnskyld. And now we'll go over the personal pronouns in Norwegian. Now with the other languages I've taught so far here on the channel, Finnish, German, and Spanish, they have a formal you form. But as you'll see in a minute, Norwegian only has one form for you addressing someone either in the formal or informal. I is jeg, you is du, he is han, she is hun, it is either din or det, we is vi, you all or you guys, which would be you in the plural, would be dere, and they is de. And next, let's take a look at present tense verbs and how to conjugate them for these different personal pronouns. Norwegian is very unique in that conjugating its verbs is very straightforward and simple. For all the personal pronouns, verbs are conjugated the same for each different one. So no matter if you're conjugating a verb in the present tense for I or we or they, it will always look the same. And this is why the personal pronouns in Norwegian must be used with the verb, whereas in some languages such as Finnish or Spanish, you don't always have to use the pronoun. But in Norwegian, you must always use the personal pronoun. So for an example, the verb å bo, which means to live, å, the letter at the beginning of the verb, is part of the infinitive. And all verbs in their infinitive or dictionary form look like this. They have the letter å in the front, and then the verb itself ends in a vowel. To conjugate verbs in the present tense for the different pronouns, all you do is simply drop the letter å from the beginning and then add an r to the end of the verb. So we'll take that verb I mentioned earlier and conjugate it for the pronoun they. So take the verb å bo, which means to live, and you drop off that letter å and add an r to the end. So the verb becomes bor, and then you take the pronoun de, which means they, put it in front of the verb, and the phrase is de bor, they live. And then the next verb for an example, å gå, meaning to go. So again, you would drop off the letter å, add an r to the end of the verb, and it becomes går. And if you wanted to say he goes, you would take the pronoun han and put it in front of that conjugated verb, går, and altogether the phrase becomes han går, he goes. And then for the last verb, we'll look at the verb å snakke, which means to speak. And if you want to conjugate it for the I pronoun, you would drop off the å from the front of the verb, add an r to the end of it, and it would become snakker, and then take the pronoun jeg and use it with the conjugated verb, and altogether the phrase becomes jeg snakker, I speak. So there's a few examples of how conjugating verbs in the present tense works in Norwegian. For the last topic of the video, we'll look at modal verbs and how they are used in Norwegian. And for this lesson, we'll just talk about using them in the present tense. So in Norwegian, just like in English and most other languages, modal verbs are used to modify other verbs. And when they are used with the second verb, a special form of the infinitive of the second verb is used, where the letter or, as mentioned earlier in some of the examples from Verbs, is left off. And the modal verbs are also very irregular in the present tense. So the first modal verb is the verb å kunne, which means to be able to or can. And its conjugated form for all the personal pronouns is kan. So let's take a look at how this modal verb is used with other verbs. So if you wanted to say, for example, we can meet, you would take the verb å kunne, put it in its conjugated form kan, and then take the verb å møte, which means to meet, drop off its å, because remember we're using a special form of its infinitive here, because kan is a modal verb, so it would be kan møte, and then you place the pronoun vi in front for we, so altogether the sentence becomes vi kan møte, we can meet. And the next modal verb is the verb å ville, meaning to want to. So its conjugated form would be vil. And if we wanted to use it in this sentence as an example, do you all want to see? We would take the verb å ville, put it in its conjugated form, vil, use it with the verb å se, meaning to see, drop off the å from the verb because we're using it with a modal verb, and then we would put it into the question, do you guys want to? So altogether that would be vil dere se. Do you all want to see? The next modal verb we'll look at is the verb å måtte, meaning to have to or need to. And its conjugated form for the pronouns is må. So if we wanted to use it with the verb å ringe, meaning to call, in the sentence, you need to call, we would take the verb å måtte, put it in its conjugated form for the pronouns må, and then use it with the verb å ringe, meaning to call, drop off the å from the verb ringe, and then altogether the sentence would be du må ringe, you need to call. This last modal verb we'll look at is the modal verb å burde, meaning should or ought to, and its conjugated form is bør. So if we wanted to use it in the sentence, she should eat, we would take the verb å borde and then put it in its conjugated form, bør, take the verb å spise, which means to eat, drop off the å because we're using it with a modal verb, and that would become bør spise, and then use the pronoun hun, meaning she, and altogether this sentence becomes hun bør spise, she should eat. That wraps up this Norwegian lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed the first Norwegian lesson here on the channel. Make sure to like the Facebook page and follow the Twitter page for channel updates and notifications, as well as more language learning tips and advice. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed watching, and also don't forget to subscribe for more Norwegian lessons in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.